Hi everyone, welcome back to the Hobby Homestead. I decided to break up my gardening on one day into two videos because I was getting a lot done and I was flitting all over the place, and it just felt like it could be made into two separate videos. So today, in this video, I'm just going to be doing some random planting, trying to get what I can into the ground. It's still 1 week before our last frost date, thereabouts, although the 2-week forecast does not show any frost warnings. We are going down to like maybe as low as 4 degrees Celsius in the coming days overnight. So I'm not planting out tomatoes or peppers or loofahs or cucumbers or squash or that kind of thing, but there are lots I can plant out. One of those things is sunflowers. Sunflowers are definitely frost tender, but you can plant them out when the soil is still fairly cool. I mean, you can sow sunflower seeds when the soil is still cool as well. But I have a bunch of sunflower starts here, and I planted dahlias along here. I did not pre-sprout them this year because I felt like I didn't have room. But if you have dahlia tubers, you can actually put them in a pot in your house, and then they start to sprout and you can transplant them outside, and then you know where your plant is. This is the problem I'm having right now. I don't know where I planted them. I know they're along here. So I'm going to just look for areas that look like I disturbed the soil and planted something and hope for the best, because these sunflowers are supposed to go in between the dahlias. This is my daughter's garden and she should be doing this, but she's at school all day and these have to get in. So I'm going to help her out by getting some in the ground. This one is a red F1 single stem sunflower. I have a few of these giant sunflowers. They were my neighbor's seeds. I walked past her yard sometime 2 years ago and saw these amazing sunflowers that were like this. She gave me a bunch of the seeds, and I like to plant them behind the chicken coop. Hi, Robin. I also planted this giant green-headed coneflower back here, which is going to get huge, but they can just duke it out. All these plants can duke it out. There are so many worms here. Robin, I'm sorry that you are not here to enjoy. Here. Want a worm? There you go. And some worms? Wow, you're fast. There you go. Robin is our oldest chicken. She is 8 years old. She's the one helping herself to these delicious worms. The others just don't really get it. They don't get how good they are, eh, Robin? It's a delicacy. That's how you've stayed so young looking. All right, so there is this giant green-headed coneflower. It's gonna get massive. And then I've just stuck a bunch of these giant sunflowers in there, and they can duke it out in this space. And then that's my daughter's garden on the other side of the chicken coop. So she wanted intermittent dahlias and sunflowers along the fence. And we have the plastic row cover on for the dahlias until it's super warm. So that's my daughter's garden in May before it fills out. All right, now I'm gonna plant some fennel and some celery. I have to think about where I plant things that I want to overwinter or to have late into the fall season, because some of my beds need to be amended or topped up with some fresh compost. And I want to make sure that I'm not growing anything I plan to keep all winter long in the beds that are getting a little low on soil. This bed I think is fine, but it's got some low points, so I may actually want to top this one up in the fall. So I'm going to plant things I plan to harvest this summer or fall, early fall, and then things that I want to overwinter, like my celeriac, which I also have to plant. I'm going to put that in a bed that has been freshly filled, and I won't need to do anything to it this fall, nothing until next spring. So I'm going to start with some fennel. This is actually my first time growing a regular fennel variety. I have bronze fennel, but it never bulbs for me. I just get a ridiculous amount of leaves. It gets as tall as me, and it's beautiful, but it's like borderline invasive, which bothers me. I'm gonna plant this fennel right alongside this row of radishes. And the idea is that the radishes will be ready to come out long before this fennel gets sizable. I feel like I've been saying that too often lately, but it's something that is a big part of how I garden and grow food. This succession planting, intercropping. So radishes are an easy one for filling little spaces before the plants right next to them start to get big. There's so much calendula that is coming up in this garden that just self-sowed from last year, and honestly I don't want that much calendula in this garden, so I'm going to be pulling a bunch of it. I also have calendula purposefully sown in other parts of the garden, so I don't even need to save those babies. Onward to this far bed here. I'm going to be doing a Florida weave of tomatoes from along that back side of those raised beds. But I think that this one side is going to be good for my celeriac. Now because I feel slightly out of room there, I'm going to go and stick some more celeriac on my food forest hill. I don't know where. I'm just going to stick it in. Whatever survives, survives. That's some deal. This is pretty exciting to me. This is a Fioretto cauliflower. I've just sown a bunch of, or transplanted a bunch of cauliflowers into my like permaculture food forest hill that's just made of wood chips that's decomposed over time. I stuck some extra Fioretto cauliflowers into this space. That one is forming a tiny head. The only thing you have to worry about with planting tender annuals, things like a summer squash seedling or little cauliflower seedlings into a food forest, which traditionally is maintained with a lot of wood chip mulch, is that wood chip mulch ties up nitrogen as it decomposes, and of course those tiny baby plants need a lot of nitrogen, so it can be a rough start for them, lacking vital nutrients. As plants get bigger and develop root systems that go deeper below that surface layer of soil, then they tend to do great in this kind of setting, which is why it's so good for perennials. But a little trickier to manage with some tender little annual seedlings, either sowing from seed or young transplants. But it was really exciting to me that just last year already, the summer squash did great. So I think that the soil quality is amazing here, and I haven't tested it, but I think it's amazing. The wood chips are very broken down in the areas where they were laid first 4 years ago now. And I haven't added to them. I've added fresh wood chips around the fruit trees and then also up on the hill there. I'm trying without a retaining wall to make this area into like tiers. So there's the lower tier with the apple trees and a bunch of native wildflowers. And then the upper tier is the raspberries. And there's supposed to be like a pathway along the top of the upper tier on either side of the raspberries. But the wood chip hill keeps falling down, and honestly it's because my kids keep running up and down the hill and I keep telling them not to do that, but they do it anyway. A retaining wall would have been nice, but it just wasn't in the cards the first year when we were laying down all this wood chip. We had too much on our plates and I kind of regret it, but you can't do everything. And so I'm just raking up the wood chips, trying to remake that hill every year, a couple times a year. Not ideal, but eventually it's all going to turn into soil, and then that soil is going to be full of all the plant roots and it's going to hold a lot better. We just have to get to that point. I've also done a lot of planting of peas this year, just direct sowing peas, as well as the pile that I started inside and planted out. This is a nice purple snow pea. and I surround it with chicken wire because the rabbits will come and eat the peas, and also it gives them something more to climb up. I gave them sticks, but the chicken wire protects the peas and gives them something to climb up. And we have some blossoms on this apple tree as well. This is frostbite. It is an earlier blooming apple tree, but beautiful hot pink blossoms. We had a few apples on this tree already last year, and that was only its second year of life, so I'd say it's doing great. One more thing to plant before I wait out this next cold spell. I mean, beautiful in the daytime, but it's supposed to go down to 4 degrees Celsius at night for the remainder of this week. And I'm not going to plant out things like tomatoes and peppers yet. Maybe some more flowers will go out now, but chamomile is fairly cold hardy, and I'm going to plant it out now. I've planted a few around, and actually one is already got buds all over it, I see there. I'm pretty sure I sowed some seeds here, and I don't know what they were. Boy, 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 I need to label things better. So this garden here that I'm digging in, last March, it was just lawn on the hill. And whereas most of the time I build new beds, new in-ground beds, by either doing Charles Dowding's no-dig method by layering cardboard and then a compost or a nice triple mix on top, or I do it the slow way where I lay cardboard and then I lay like 8 inches of wood chips and let it decompose over years to make wonderful soil. With this garden, I just wanted something fast and relatively easy, knowing that there is no fast, cheap, and easy. You can have fast, easy, and expensive, or you can have fast, cheap, and a lot of work. What do you think? I'm just going to put in a garden where my lawn was. I'm going to till up the lawn, or I'm going to lift the sod and plant a bunch of plants. You need nutrients for plants to survive, and edible plants, vegetable plants that have been bred for our consumption, need a particularly high amount of nutrients. They need much more than the grass that's growing in your ground. And so you need to do something to build up that soil. And in my case, I didn't. And I decided this would just be a herb garden. I'd put some native perennials to start, and then some really hardy herbs. And I did end up mulching. I mulched with grass clippings at first, and then brought in some wood chips when I had wood chips. And the soil is improving since last spring. But it was a rough garden in the first year. The plants required extra watering, and I didn't fertilize anything, but again, just building the soil slowly. And now I could probably add some tender annuals if I wanted to, but calendula is like, it's an annual herb, so kind of best of both worlds. And we're gonna make tons of, did I say calendula again? Chamomile. We're gonna make tons of chamomile tea this winter. Look at this cute sedge. This is a native sedge. It's called Sprangle's sedge. And if you're planning a native garden for the pollinators, don't forget about grasses and sedges. I think it's really kind of a hot topic now to make pollinator gardens and native flower gardens. I love that. But it's all flowers. Everybody's just told to plant echinacea and golden alexander and butterfly milkweed and like flowering plants. But grasses and sedges are an important part of the ecosystem as well. There are a lot of insects that rely on grasses and sedges. All right, I think it's time to pick some spinach. You see, I use so much insect netting. It's as much to keep insects out as it is to keep rabbits and squirrels out, and it works for all of them. I am a big proponent of physical barriers to keep your pests at bay. It's really the only thing that has ever just worked for me. Like, I can guarantee it will work, and I never worry about my crops. I'm sure you could have a really tenacious rabbit that would just chew right through it if it wanted, but we haven't had that problem yet. I should also check for carrot germination. Whoa, that's a weird looking worm. Oh, it's earwigs mating. Isn't that fun? Huh. Well, I'm going to let them be. No carrot germination yet, though. Carrots can take a long time to germinate. Look at these spinach leaves. They're still sweet, still beautiful. This variety, I'm pretty sure, is the giant winter organic spinach. Pretty sure. I have two favorites for growing in the wintertime. One is this one, and I think what did even better for me last year through the winter was Popeye. Popeye spinach you can get probably from multiple sources, but I buy mine from Hawthorne Seeds, which is a local seed company. They are a wonderful seed company, but I am an affiliate for West Coast Seeds, so you know, if you want to support my channel, you could always buy seeds through there and use my affiliate link, which should be in my channel description. You know, I'm actually seeing my first signs of bolting. Spinach does not take long to bolt, but it's okay because I have spring sown spinach as a backup. Bolting just means it's going to send up a flower stalk pretty soon, and then it stops producing these nice big leaves. It's completing its life cycle. Oh, it seems a shame to just freeze this because it looks so beautiful, but I also love having homegrown organic spinach in the freezer. Just can't get enough spinach. It's a crop that I struggled with for years, and now that I have it figured out, I've consistently been growing it for a few years now, where it's just done great. Now it's one of my favorites. This was a really annoying spring. It was very, very cold, so nothing was growing, even the spinach, until like April. Last year, we were harvesting lots of spinach in March, and it didn't even really start putting on growth until the beginning of April. So, you know, now our spring is starting to warm up. This is what happens here. We have cold, 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 and then we have just like, it feels like mere days of cool spring weather. And then it's hot, hot summer, which is why spinach is so difficult here. But if you overwinter it, you sow it in September, like September 1st, A, you can harvest from it all through the fall, and then B, you get to come back to it in the spring, and it's the first thing growing. And my spring sown spinach is still only like the size of a toonie. That's the Canadian coin for $2, if you're watching this from outside of Canada. When you're harvesting a leafy green, I'm pretty sure any leafy green, except maybe like an iceberg lettuce, you can pick the outer leaves right down to like 2 or 3 leaves left on the plant, and it'll keep growing. And so you can just get so many harvests out of one seed. Also, these radishes are about ready to be harvested. And I think I'm going to go ahead and pickle them right away. Let my kids graze on a few raw. Still on the small-ish side, but a few more days, they'll be ready. All right, this is our harvest from this morning so far. Got a very nice sized basket of spinach and an adorable handful of the first asparagus of the year. I'm going to give this a rinse. I'm going to blanch it super quickly for like 30 seconds in some steaming water, and then I'm going to pull it out and lay it down on a clean tea towel to dry a little bit, just get a lot of the excess moisture out, and then I will be vacuum sealing this spinach. I'm probably going to keep some out just for fresh eating for salads, although our spring spinach, spring planted spinach, is now coming up to a size where we can start eating that. Okay, there's actually lots more that I want to get done out here, but I think I need to stop for today because this video is going to be too long. Thank you for watching, thank you for subscribing, following along, and I really hope that you will come and grow with us.